Alright YouTube, so since the last vlog I made like this where I talked about 3 movie endings of a trilogy known as Star Wars, that was a really fun video to make, so I'm continuing that series and I'll be talking about Star Wars trilogy endings, but I'll be going in reverse chronological order as order of release. I don't know if that statement made sense, but point is, today's vlog I'll be talking about the Star Wars prequel endings and my opinion on each ending. I enjoyed making a vlog about the Star Wars sequels, and I look forward to making a vlog about the original trilogy, so let's dive in. Now, as you can all probably infer by looking at me, I was not old enough to watch the Star Wars prequels when they first came out, at least not in theaters, but I did actually see The Phantom Menace in theaters, not when it came out because I wasn't even born, but there was a point where they were going to re-release all the Star Wars movies in theaters in episode order, and The Phantom Menace was first, even though A New Hope came first, because anyways, I did see Phantom Menace in theaters and I enjoyed seeing it in the theater. That was many years ago at a birthday party, actually my good friend and cousin's birthday party, funny enough. But it was truly a tragedy that they didn't re-release all the old Star Wars movies in theaters. I'm secretly hoping they still do that at some point, especially with Revenge of the Sith's 20-year anniversary coming up this May, so fingers crossed. But let's get back to the point of this vlog. I'll talk about the ending of The Phantom Menace, which is the first movie in this trilogy. So I have to say The Phantom Menace definitely ends on an interesting. So young Obi-Wan Kenobi arguably breaks the Jedi code and kills Darth Maul, although we all know he's a zombie and comes back to life, yada yada. We'll get to that vlog eventually, but yeah, that was definitely very groundbreaking when Obi-Wan slit Darth Maul right down the middle. That was a badass scene to watch. I remember finding it so incredibly badass when he just jumps up out of the shaft and goes slices Darth Maul straight in half. Of course, in the Clone Wars animated series, he later says he wished he had gone for the head. And the next thing that happens in this ending is very young Anakin Skywalker destroys the Trade Federation's, the battle droid's equivalent of the Death Star pretty much, which he was very young, like 10 or 9 was it? I don't know. So yeah, as you can tell, this movie definitely kind of has an upbeat, hopeful, and inspiring ending. Well, that is except for the character Qui-Gon Jinn, who's a super cool character. He dies, Darth Maul kills him, and he has a funeral. Obi-Wan keeps his promise to Darth Maul. What am I saying? Keeps his promise to Darth Maul. Sorry, I'm horrible at reading my own script sometimes. Keeps his promise to Qui-Gon and decides to train young Anakin Skywalker and take him under his wing as his Padawan. Mace Windu says there's no doubt the mysterious warrior was a Sith, and surely enough it was, and of course Yoda delivers his famous line about Star Wars Siths and the rule of 2, and at the very end there's a big parade. So what do I think of this ending? I like it because I feel like it sets up the Star Wars prequels well, although I feel like The Phantom Menace definitely had a lot of flaws, but the ending was definitely super cool in my opinion. I definitely liked this movie, but I'm not denying that it had some issues here and there, but you know, all these years later, I can say I really do honestly enjoy this. Now, on to Episode 2's ending. Attack of the Clones ending is a little less, or actually a lot less upbeat and hopeful than the Phantom Menace's ending, and that's because Yoda says, "Begun the Clone Wars has." So Anakin loses half his arm and gets a shiny new robotic arm. He, for sure, breaks the Jedi code and marries the amazing Senator Padme Amidala, and that creates the whole plot line about their secret marriage going against the Jedi Code, although I wish there was something in Revenge of the Sith where Obi-Wan talked about how he secretly or knew they were secretly married but kept it to himself. Unfortunately, that line was not included in the series. But as you know, Star Wars fans, we love to speculate and create our own creative imaginations of what went on between all the gaps in Star Wars. At least me as a super creative person, I certainly did that as a kid, and you know, it's fun to do. But in this ending we see the army of clones, which is definitely badass, and one thing I really like about the Clones theme song is it's similar to the Trade Federation's The Battle Droid theme song, but it's like, you know, a little different, which kind of shows that these are pretty much opposite sides of the same coin, and that the clones and the droids, they're pretty much like arguing with themselves and they're hypocrites and all that fun stuff, that they're pretty much the same. Okay, I'm going in circles now, and yes, I got this idea from a comment I read on the soundtrack of the Clone March, which is very similar to the Battle Droid March. But yeah, Attack of the Clones definitely has a cool ending. I know this movie's pretty controversial, but I honestly liked it. I have fond memories of it as a kid. I was 1 year old when this movie first came out, but I watched it on DVD so many times and I liked it. I was actually a Jango Fett for Halloween 1 year and Luke Skywalker another, but that's an original trilogy thing, so I should probably come back to that in another one. And last but not least, honestly, my favorite of the three movies and my favorite ending of the three movies and maybe my favorite movie of all time, Revenge of the Sith. So as you can imagine by the title of this movie, Revenge of the Sith is not afraid to let the bad guys win and the good guys lose, which I think is super cool. And you know, there's Padme's funeral, which was very sad. She has the little charm necklace that young Anakin gave her when he was 9 years old, and Jar Jar Binks is at that funeral, who we all know is secretly a Sith Lord, but I'll save the controversial Star Wars opinions for another day. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Anakin officially, well, not officially, technically he was Darth Vader before the suit, but he becomes the Darth Vader we all knew him to be inside that robotic suit. He lets out a big no at the end, and it was a little awkward, but the suit up scene was definitely badass, and I really respect that. After all that getting burnt to a crisp and put in a robot suit, the first thing he asked was about his wife, so I salute you for that, Darth Vader. And Obi-Wan hides Anakin's children in plain sight, well, hides his son in plain sight on the planet that his father, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, grew up on. Obi-Wan delivers, not delivers, but gives young Luke to his aunt and uncle, and yeah, that planet is full of sand, and that actually gives me another video idea that I need to make a Kenobi series review. But yeah, it's definitely super cool to see Luke with his aunt and uncle as a baby, because that gives us all the reminder of A New Hope with the original trilogy. And of course, Leia goes with Senator Bail Organa and his wife on a very different environment planet. And we see the construction of the Death Star and Anakin looking over it. He crosses his arms, and I think that's cool. And he's standing by the Emperor's side watching the Death Star being built. And that's the end of the Star Wars Prequel trilogy, or Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this vlog. I went off script many times and actually improv'd half this, scripted half of it, but that may be an interesting idea for me. Try scripting half a vlog, improving the other half. But until then, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more soon. Goodbye.